Hello, welcome to another episode of Asian Mythology Retold Triggers. Today is a highly requested video that's going to be very useful for any RPG type scenarios. We're going to be giving our units special abilities on their UI panel when we click them. To do this, we need to use quite a number of new effects, so I'm going to aim to write this up as a written guide as well as a video guide so you can follow the steps along. So, what's our basic premise? First of all, we want to set everything up, so I'm going to have a setup trigger. The trigger that we're going to be using is proto-unit add train. What this does is it allows a parent unit, such as our hoplite, to train another unit. I could put quite a few things in here, so I'm going to put the hippo of set. The row in the column is where on the UI this will appear, so this will be in the top left-hand corner. Not quite as simple as this though. If you test a scenario, you might not find your unit is trainable. First of all, we have to make sure our player can actually train the unit. We need to enable it. So again, the unit we want to train as the child from the parent, the hippo of set, is enabled, and now it is trainable. There's a few other things we can do for abilities, such as making it not cost anything with the proto-unit modify resource data. Again, I'm going to go through all the resources here. It's going to be the cost, and I'm going to assign the cost to 0, i.e. make it free. I'm going to do that for food, gold, wood, and favour. What we also need to do is make sure the unit doesn't cost any population. This is going to be with proto-unit modify data. We should be very used to managing this now, and the field is the population count. Let's assign a value of 0 to this. What we can also do is some train points. We need to make sure our unit can actually be trained. I'm going to put this as 5 for now, and you'll see where this 5 appears when we test our ability, because you might want to customize this. I'm also going to use a rate modifier, so our units train instantly. So going to do a global rate modification of training speed. I'm going to set that to a high number like 10, 100, 1000. What I can then do further, again with another new effect, is make sure we don't actually see the unit being trained. To do this, we use the proto-unit set flag effect. This allows us to modify the flag data of any unit. There's over 100 different flags you can choose from. I don't know what all of them do, but you can do some very cool stuff with this, as I may demonstrate in a later video. The one I'm interested in for my purpose here is only in editor, so that means that hippo of set is only going to appear in the editor. Now I can get into the customization of my unit and my ability. So if we go to proto-unit change name, this allows us to change the name of every single hippo of set that is in the map or will be created in the map. So let's have a coloured name. Let's make this our ability name. So let's say speed boost, for example, and then gives 5 speed as an example for our rollover text. That will just display underneath. We can also use the proto-unit set icon effect. This allows us to change the icon of our unit. We use the icon parameter here, not the minimap one. That icon was pasted from the icon guide in the previous video. Our final thing is to now assign our unit a build limit of 1, so that we can only build one of them at a time. We'll now have a fully functioning new unit, disguised and modified to look like an ability. What we need to do now is trigger our abilities to see what happens when it's working and when it's not working. We can use the player unit count to detect that the ability has been triggered. So if that's greater than or equal to 1, what we want to then happen is remove the unit that's been changed. So we could just do this within an area around our unit, and we could change it to anything. We could make a nice effect, or we could just do a cinematic block so it doesn't appear that it's visible. Then what we need to do is modify our proto unit to a build limit of 0, or we could do it absolutely -1, either or works the same. This is so you can't have multiple abilities triggering at once. We then need to actually enact our ability, so our speed boost, and we're going to modify this absolutely by 5. We then want a speed off, which is exactly the same but in reverse, so we want our speed to be returned to normal by -5 absolute. We want to enable our ability again, and we don't need to change anything. We want this to be in a circular loop, so let's link our triggers with the trigger activate effect, and we'll have a timer of, let's say, 10 seconds for which this ability runs. So this is speed off, and it's inactive, and we want to link these triggers together so you can see they're working in a loop. Let's see what this looks like when we playtest. So we've got our units, we've got our lovely ability there, speed boost. We move with 4.8 speed, and then we click to train. We've got our speed boost, moving at 9.8, build limit is 0, so we can't activate that again. And then after 10 seconds have elapsed, our speed returns to 4.8, and our ability is on again. You'll see the 5 I put in as the train points now appears as a timer here saying 5 seconds, so that's what you might want to modify, so you've got a custom cooldown for your abilities. If you want an actual cooldown, you would need to add in another delay trigger, like what I'm going to do now, so that then the ability is off and recharging. So if I have a speed recharge, what I want to happen is that this now needs to link from the speed off button. We reduce our speed, but we don't want the ability to recharge yet, so we keep the build limit as 0. When it recharges, we want our speed to be used. We then assign the build limit, and let's say 5 seconds recharge as per my text. It's now a 3 trigger circular loop, and they will all follow in succession. So again, we use our speed. We've got 9.8 speed. We're running about quite happily with that. When the 10 seconds have elapsed, we go down to 4.8 speed, but we can't use our ability right away. We then need to wait for the 5-second recharge before we use it again as normal. That's how we can use abilities. I'm going to show you another one because you can do quite a lot with these, and we're going to have more videos on these because there's just so many wonderful things you can actually do with them. So let's duplicate our setup and have a new ability. So going through, all I need to do, because I've got the triggers, is change the unit. So I'm going to use a hyena set instead of a hippopotamus. I'm also going to move it 1 over. So let's give our ability a new name. And choose our icon again. And then we've got a new ability to use. So let's have our lightning on ability, and this is going to be again whenever we have a hyena with player unit count. So it doesn't matter, I don't need to select a unit because it hasn't been created yet. This condition covers it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to invoke a god power at the unit. You remember from my god power video a few peculiar things. So we can use a unit as an area, if for area target god powers like this. I've got line of sight because it's the same player. I don't need to grant it in this scenario because I'm just going to use the invoke instead. If I granted, you'd end up with another one. Invoke in this patch at least bypasses, so there's no need to grant. We then want to change our hyena to make sure this isn't constantly firing. and again we could choose something nice and copy this one over. We'll give this one a 10-second timer as well, and then we modify our proto unit to allow the hyena to be trained again. So we assign a build limit of 1, we link the triggers, we deactivate the off, and then I didn't put a building limit in here, so let's do that. Hyena of set, assigning a build limit of 0. Okay, lovely, so that's on and that's inactive. Let's make sure I've got my sanity check there, and now this should work, and we can see 2 abilities in action like a true RPG style scenario. So we've got our units with the ability to cool down lightning and have a speed boost. Here we go.
Orthos, βούλομαι. Πάνι, βούλομαι. Orthos, πάνι, βούλομαι. Πάνι.
Go. And then after use, the abilities recharge and be used again. This is a very powerful tool, as you can see, and I hope you have fun making your own RPG style scenarios with clever unit abilities. I can come onto this later because again there's oh so much more that you can do with this trick. Have fun, and I will see you, as always, in the next video.